What's up guys, so Derek here, back for another more talky type video because today the Dev Learnings article came out for set 11. If you guys aren't familiar, these are articles that I believe Mortdog writes. Looks like it's written from Mortdog's POV, unless he has a ghostwriter or something. These are articles that are written every single set about what the dev team learned from the set, and also, maybe importantly, maybe even more importantly, they often give some hints about what's coming in future sets. So I want to go through this thing. Of course, I always got my TikTok video for you guys to watch to make your brains work, so that I'll throw this in the background. I want to actually VOD review BioLuke, and maybe we will do that tomorrow, because this is a player who is from Brazil and who did fantastically in the TC3 Tacticians Cup 3. He didn't win, but he did very, very well. He was the best performing player across the entire weekend. So thought let's throw a VOD from him on here while we read the Dev Learnings article. And hey, maybe if you guys are interested, I'll do a VOD review of him tomorrow. But yeah, there's a lot of different sections, so I'm not gonna like read straight from the article, but I'm gonna go through each section. I'll have the link to the article in the description if you want to read the whole thing for yourself. It's a fantastic read. Say what you will about the TFT dev team, and I mean, I'll say that they're amazing. But one of their biggest strengths is how communicative they are. They're always telling you, what they're trying to do, what they are trying to improve at, kind of stuff. So it's always fun. I'm also gonna bump this down to 1.5x speed. Maybe I can bump it up faster later, but I've been doing longer videos recently. This will be a longer video as well. So let's just hop into the article. The first thing they talked about was the set theme. This is really just fun, light stuff. But they said, set 10 is the music set. Set 11 was kind of the art set. And I mean, I agree. This is a beautiful set. I love all the splash arts. All of the, it's so fun making thumbnails, because I can just look at these really, really beautiful splash arts and use them in thumbnails. I really like how all the champion skins look. It's a beautiful set, and I'm very happy. And BioLuke using this arena that they added this set even adds to that as well. It's just a very pretty set to watch. So I think they nailed it with the visuals of the set. I would say that it does. I certainly miss the music from set 10, but obviously that's not something that they can do every set. But cool to have sort of like visual flair or audio flair, some kind of flair to the set. This is something that I've talked about before, but maybe that can actually be more of the set mechanic, like in set 10, where it's just flair. It's not even necessarily a mechanic. The other thing they talked about is creating original characters. So we created, well, I didn't, but they created Kobuko this set, and used him as a fortune tank. And I mean, people love Kobuko, right? Kobuko, when they talked about it, I was kind of surprised, and I kind of forgot that Kobuko's not a league champion, because he fits so well into the set. You never look and say like, oh, Kobuko, who's this? It's actually like so straightforward. So yeah, great job on the visuals of the set. But now let's get into more of the meat stuff, the more stuff that you guys can yap in the comments section about, and I can try to defend Riot because I'm a paid Riot shill. Not really, I just love what they've done with TFT in general. TFT is a fantastic game. All right, first thing is the power framework and cost viability. Talking about sort of the balance between all of the different cost levels. And this was a big pain point this set, I would say. Early on into the set, 3-cost reroll absolutely dominated. We had patches where 3-cost reroll was the only thing that was viable. And then basically right after that, Riot Games said, okay, we're going to slash 3-cost odds at 7, make it a lot harder for you to play 3-cost reroll. And then after that, 3-cost reroll was basically dead. It was unplayable for a few patches after that, and we had to play 4-cost reroll. Or not 4-cost reroll, but 4-cost fast 8 type stuff on the rest of the set. So they acknowledge that this was certainly a miss, and I mean, I think this was a pretty big miss this set. People have talked about it, but the thought is that for a majority of this set, it was basically impossible to roll at level 6 and level 7 for all those patches where people just played 4-cost. It was basically, you have to go fast 8, you cannot spend your gold before level 8. And now it's at least a little bit better, where you have some decent odds at 6 and 7, so you could maybe pick up some upgrades and stuff. But the fact that it was that bad for that long is pretty bad. So they did say, that they have like a new framework, I think, that they said around this kind of stuff, that they are trying. I believe that's what they said in this. And, it's hard to read an article and talk about it. But, they basically said that, I mean, the thing they have bolded here is, we want champs to remember a cost bucket to be viable, and players able to play around the champs they enjoy at any given time. They also talk about just like what all the different costs are, which I think is generally like completely on point what they are saying about what the different cost levels mean in TFT. And so yeah, it's a bit hard to balance those things. Oh yeah, so they say at the end, at this point, we think we have the frameworks and systems surrounding these in the correct spot now, which should help make it easier in future sets to find the right spot sooner. So hopefully that is the case, because I do think this was a major pain point. This set is the whiplash from going only 3 cost meta to 0 3 cost meta was pretty wild. So yeah, something to keep in mind. Oh, I also just this is my note. Oh, you can't see the note. This is my secret note that I'm gonna use to become rank 1 TFT next set. It's one line. Okay, let me pull out a little bit of it to show you guys. It ends in that. I don't know actually how much you can even see there. Here, it ends in this. I'm being stupid. It's really not that big of a thing. Oh god, I accidentally pulled this into my OBS. Okay, let's get rid of that. I swear I'm not like trying to like pad time by being stupid. I'm just stupid. Okay, next thing is encounters. Okay, so this is where I think a lot of you guys are going to be yapping your minds off. Because in their first paragraph for encounters, they said for better or worse, they added variants. The last sentence is, this mechanic met the goals and generally by most of our players was considered a fun addition to TFT. Now, I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts of that, because I think a lot of the more engaged players didn't really like encounters. The idea, I think, is that a lot of the more casual players did enjoy encounters, and I'll say myself, Riot, number one Mort Dog Riot apologist, I enjoy encounters. I think encounters add fun to the game. There are a lot of fun encounters that exist there that make really, really interesting stuff happen. I've said before that I enjoy the Lily encounter that moves augments around, which a lot of people absolutely hate. I like a lot of the carousel encounters that, give you something cool on carousel, but they can end up being a little bit unbalanced. So, I'm Riot's number one apologist on this. So I'm going to let you guys keep me accountable for this and tell me how you guys actually felt about encounters, because it sounds like casual players tended to enjoy encounters, and that like the more competitive players, a lot of them didn't like encounters. But let me know how you guys end up feeling about this. Also 4 loss into win, or yeah, he was 4 loss streak into to win there. Feels a little bit bad, but hey, maybe we start a streak there. So yeah, basically, important things to note. We're happy with encounters as a set mechanic and concept. They were novel and unique, and likely to Inkborn fables will be remembered for, but like any set mechanic, encounters aren't something we want to keep around for TFT in the long run. So objectively, just straight up stating, we're not keeping encounters for next set. I don't think too many people were worried about that, but I'm sure there were some people who were thinking, oh my god, what if encounters become evergreen like portals or like augments? But certainly not the case. Encounters are going to come out next set and are not going to exist. Maybe we'll get some re-edition of encounters at some point, similar to like hero augments, where maybe they'll have like a few encounters that exist as like portals, but I mean, then they're just portals, so who's to say? But yeah, I'm curious to see how you guys feel about encounters, just because it seems like they're actually pretty controversial. I think a lot of the really, really competitive players kind of act like, they were just terrible, but it sounds like a lot of casual players really enjoy them. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about encounters, where they a hit, where they a miss. Yeah, really, really curious to hear you guys' thoughts. All right, next thing we talk about, I don't know why I keep saying we. Next thing they talk about in this article is trait design. They're not talking about every single trait, but there's a few things that I want to talk about, and then I'll also talk about what they want to talk about. So okay, let me talk about what they talk about first, and then I'll say my piece for this. They talk about the failure of big vertical traits where the main carry is not within that vertical. So the big examples that they tried to fix this set are Ghostly and Heavenly. Heavenly, for the majority of the set, the 2 main Heavenly carries were Lee Sin and Kayn, both of course not Heavenly units, and then Ghostly, the main carries for the entire set have been stuff like Zoe, been stuff like Zyra, even like Heavenly Kaisa earlier on into the set. So these are like verticals, but they're kind of more support verticals that enable another carry, which is kind of, they say when the best carry for a big vertical trait isn't someone in that trait, we've messed up. And it is certainly, I guess, partially a reasonable take that, it does put Kayn and Morgana in sort of an awkward space when these are the 4-cost carries for Ghostly, but they're kind of awkward to use with Ghostly, so you don't feel that good about playing 6 Ghostly Kayn. It does make the game a little bit unintuitive. I don't necessarily think it's a huge problem, just because it can be fun. I mean, I certainly enjoyed playing Heavenly Kain and Heavenly Lee Sin. I didn't really see the issue with these traits being a little bit less intuitive, but once you figure out that you're supposed to play Heavenly Lee Sin, it kind of works. And in many ways, I kind of disliked the rework of Heavenly, where they made it into more like, okay, you want to play Heavenlies with Heavenly. So in many ways, I kind of dislike that. I think this is fine. But it sounds like Riot doesn't want that because it's very unintuitive. It also makes the spat feel bad. Previously the Heavenly Spat, you would just throw it on a random unit, right? Because you don't really care about Heavenly Spat on Kayn or on Lee Sin. Now after the changes, you want to put it on Lee Sin or Kayn and type stuff like that. So I don't think that's a really big issue. They also talk about Exalted here, which is something that I think a lot of people are curious to hear about how Exalted was really fun. People really enjoyed it. They said, this is likely something we could see coming back in the future, especially since we can change the output of the trait each time, as long as the concept of a rotating trait sticks around. So definitely one of the highlights of Inkborn Fables, and something we'll revisit someday. They said something like this doesn't make sense to be in every set of TFT. So probably confirming that they're not going to have an Exalted type thing in the next set, which feels bad. I really liked Exalted, and I wouldn't have even really felt too bad if something like Exalted was just evergreen in every single TFT set, if we always had an Exalted type trait, because it was so fun to know all the different Exalteds, figure out how to play with them, cook with them, especially early on in like PBE type stuff when people really hadn't figured it all out. Just like cooking the different Exalteds up was really fun. So I'm a little bit sad to see that they're not like returning basically immediately. I would have been fine with Exalted just being immediately in the next set, but I think maybe it would grind on people a little bit just to have this immediately added back in next set, which is certainly fair enough. So just to note that Exalted is not coming back next set, but maybe in the future it'll come back, or maybe we'll have something similar to Exalted, but not like the XP and damage thing. Maybe it'll be something completely different. Who's to say? I guess we'll see. But interesting. The other thing that I wanted to note that they didn't talk about in the traits is the power of these like 4 traits in the verticals. Because this is something we actually talked about on the co-stream for the previous cup. So if you guys didn't watch that, well, you guys missed out on this cool discussion. But this is a set that I feel was dominated by these like slight verticals, like the middle trait verticals, the big ones being like 4 Sniper, 4 Trick Shot, 4 Warden. These traits being so strong was kind of awkward because of the fact that when you play TFT, you don't think of the most capped Ash board being 4 Sniper, 4 Warden. The fact that on that board we're playing a 1 cost in Caitlyn, a 2 cost in Senna that's not doing anything, another like 1 or 2 cost in like Gnar or Garen until we end up finding like a set. We're playing these 3 costs as our main tanks, and then our secondary carry is another 3 costs is really strange. The more natural way to play TFT is like the capped board being something like, okay, we play Aphelios Ashe together, and then we end up playing like Syndra as like a duo carry, and it's like Ashe Syndra duo carry, and then you get to play a lot more high cost units. You play like Aphelios, Syndra, and then like you fit in Set, you fit in like a random behemoth in there somehow. You get like Umbrelin maybe with like Silas, and then you get Bruiser in somehow, and you play this very capped board with like a lot of 4 and 5 costs in it. But it's weird that this set there was so much power in these 4 traits. The 4 Sniper, the 4 Trick Shot are the ones that really come to mind, and 4 Warden, but Wardens were just broken a lot of the sets, so that's part of it. But the fact that the best Trick Shot board, we still have a Sivir on the late game board. We have a Teemo and a Sivir on the late game board, and these units are just broken. I mean, Sivir's not that broken, but Teemo just as a 2 cost is just kind of broken. That was strange to me. I'm surprised they didn't talk about it a little bit in the learnings article, because I do think TFT is at its best when you can flex around these things, and it feels bad when the Ashe board now, with so much power being in Sniper, you have to play 4 Sniper or you just can't compete. You never want to like drop out of 4 Sniper. It was nice earlier on in the set when like Lilia was a lot stronger, and you can play around like Ashe Lilia type stuff. I thought that stuff was really enjoyable, and so it's a little bit sad that we didn't have that exist for a lot of the set. So that's something not in the article, but that I just wanted to highlight that I think is kind of important to talk about. And once again, anything that you guys want to leave your input on, talk about down below. If you guys like playing 4 Sniper, let me know, or if you guys have similar feelings to me where you don't like the fact that the Ashe board was so inflexible throughout so much of the set, yeah, then also let me know. All right, next thing we got, and this has some big implications for the future of TFT, complexity ceiling, they talked about how this set was one of the most complex sets, and it's probably at the peak of most complex sets that you can have in TFT. And I think I agree, right? You had games where you started the game off with like a really, really game warping portal. They talk about like Scuttle Puddle. You get Scuttle Puddle as your portal, and then say you get an encounter after that that like layers on top of it. You have Scuttle Puddle portal, and then you have an encounter that's like the one that makes it so your shops cost only 1 gold to refresh for the rest of the game. That is a crazy game of TFT, and it is very jarring to go from that to like a game where our portal is just components, and then we don't get like a real, and our encounter is like working out with set makes you bigger. And so I do agree with them that this is basically as complex as we can get in a set of TFT. It's a lot harder to go further beyond with this. And so they said, I'll read the bolded part here. Over the next few sets, you're going to see us make attempts to bring down that complexity ceiling without removing the depth or fun of the game. The depth is especially important to retain, so finding places where we can cut unnecessary complexity while maintaining TFT's depth. And I think that is I think that's a very smart thing to say, and Mortdog has talked about this on stream before, where the game is a bit complex right now, but they don't want to bring it to the point where it's like really, really dumbed down. Like imagine a world where they just remove everything, right? They remove augments, they remove portals, and we just play base TFT. I think a lot of people would hate that because they would just that part of their brain would not be scratched enough, where they get to do cool things, they get to make cool comps exist, they get to play cool individual games. So obviously that's not the solution, it's just remove everything. But I do think they could afford to remove some things. Getting rid of encounters will certainly help a bit, and just going back to the portals plus the augments will, I think, reduce some complexity, but they still want you to have player agency, which I think is really smart. They want you to still be able to impact your game a lot. So I think what they basically said is, and I don't know how exactly they walk that tightrope, but they want to make the game less complex while still being very deep. So maybe fewer decisions, fewer like things being thrown at you. There aren't going to be 5 encounters thrown at you in a game that you have to adapt to, but maybe like 1 or 2 big decisions. Maybe the set mechanic next set is you have 1 or 2 really, really big decisions that you can really tweak, and you have a lot of ability to change them, but they're very straightforward, right? For a player who is just very, very casual, you can just make these decisions very easily. Maybe that's their solution. I think that's pretty reasonable. The other big thing is they're talking about portals, because portals do add a lot of complexity to a set. I've talked about this on stream before, that I have a little bit of like portal fatigue. The fact that I go into every game of TFT and I have to look at a portal and like pick a portal, and then we see this portal, and like you get the games where it's like 3 portals that you really don't like that much. It's a lot. And so going forward, what can Riot do? They don't really want to get rid of portals. They certainly don't want to bring back starting carousel, because they realize that people just starting carousel is very, very annoying. The APM check at the start of the game, the fact that it can influence your game so much if you get the component or unit that you want versus not, feels bad. So they certainly don't want to bring back starting carousel. But they did say in this learning article, we foresee a future where sets do not have portals as you know them, since we can capture the fun aspects of the current portals in a way that doesn't overwhelm new and returning players. That is a big thing to say, that we might no longer have this 3 portal start where you have to pick a portal at the beginning. Maybe, there is some kind of thing that changes the game, but you don't get input on it. I think the upside to portals is that players can self-correct, and so if there's a portal that people don't like, then they can just not stand on that portal. But maybe Riot swings for the fences and says you don't get to pick a portal anymore, but there will be portal type stuff happening. Maybe once again it builds into the whatever the set 12 mechanic is, who knows. But I think that's a very smart thing to say, that they don't really want to bring back starting carousel, but maybe we have some kind of alternative to portals. I think is very, very smart. So yeah, maybe portal's gone. I don't know if they mean for this coming set or for like set 13 and onward. But I guess we'll see. Set 13 is going to be really, really big for TFT, because it's going to be when Arcane's coming out. So a lot of people are speculating that that's going to be like the Arcane 2 set. Also, they're very likely going to be having their next big LAN in that set. So it should be really, really big. Next thing they talk about, I don't want to talk about this too much because I don't think this is a big deal, but champion intuitiveness. So they talk about the fact that, Yasuo is a tank this set. That's not very intuitive. When you see Yasuo, you don't think I should throw a gargoyle on this guy. I think this is something that you can learn pretty quickly in a set by just reading the abilities and seeing where people put items. It did throw me off a little bit when I was playing on PvE. I definitely tried to build like Titans BT Yasuo a few times, and people were like, just build resists on him, man. Why are you building these like carry type items on him? Or like Sterax or something. So, this is certainly something that's worth talking about. And I think something that matters, but, I don't think this is like the end of the world if they have some slightly unintuitive, Annie being a tank. They've done that more and more and more. And so I think people are like a little bit more used to it, but yeah, I don't know. Not a big deal to me. They did talk about how big of a win Irelia was because she was very, very like dramatic. And, you never really felt like Irelia was like weird. Like, oh, should I itemize Irelia like a League of Legends champion because she's a 5 cost, because she's so, such a big thing. The other thing that I wanted to note is that they did give a little bit of a spoiler for set 12 in here. Keep your eyes peeled for a couple unique champs, like a certain magic user who scales with attack speed. I'm not sure who that could be in the next set that may behave in ways you don't expect. So a magic user that scales with attack speed. Let me know what you guys, because I tried to think about it. Someone like Kog'Maw maybe. He could certainly exist in like the next set, which is supposed to be like mages type stuff and like wacky kind of fantasy stuff. Maybe Kog'Maw. I'm not sure. Or let me know what you guys think could be the answer to that outside of Kog'Maw. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that certainly sounds fun. Magic user that scales with attack speed is always fun to play around. Throw a Gwynsu on them, very happy. High risk traits. Also, we're getting towards the end of this video, so I realized, man, VODs are not as long as I thought they were. We're gonna bring this down to 1.25x speed, honestly, over the next few fights. Maybe even 1x speed, because I got more stuff to get through this article. I never give myself enough time. High risk traits. They talk about Fortune versus Heartsteel. People really enjoyed Heartsteel. Fortune was quite well balanced, but maybe it wasn't as bombastic for casual players because they balanced the cash outs pretty well by the end of the set. I think that's fine. I think casual players still really enjoy Fortune and stuff like that, even if you don't just like auto win the game for getting a win with Fortune, or for loss streaking with Fortune. But I don't know. Once again, I'm curious to hear what you guys think about something like Fortune. Did you guys enjoy Fortune? Did you guys not enjoy Fortune? Did you think it wasn't as dramatic enough? I guess let me know. Yeah, they also gave a little bit of a risk here. Or a little bit of a preview here for the next like Fortune type trait next set, which I think is really interesting. For next set and sets past this one, we're thinking about other ways to provide the same high risk reward feeling, but maybe not from the trait system. You could call our experiments here a bit high risk, but we think we'll be happy with the cash out. I'll show myself out, they say in parentheses. So maybe like a big high risk augment, an augment that essentially gives you Fortune perhaps, or maybe tied to the set mechanic itself, giving you some kind of Fortune type thing. I'm not really sure. It's a really interesting idea. And we've had similar type stuff. That's the biggest thing I can think of, is like, imagine you got like golden egg, but at the start of the game, and it was like 20 turns or something like that, and like loses gave you more. I'm not sure, but something like that perhaps. It sounds really interesting, and I'm always happy for Riot to like expand their idea of what these type of things can be, just to swing for the fences. And if super golden egg is giga broken next set, then okay, get rid of super golden egg. It all works out. So I think that's a cool idea. What do we have left to get through? Okay, only 2 more things. I think I can get through it. Maybe not before the game's over, but before most of the game's over. Hero augments. They talked about how hero augment balance is really important because, when a hero augment like Story Champion becomes broken, it no longer becomes novel. It's okay, everybody pick Story Champion again, snore. So, I mean, I think that's right on the mark, but, it's kind of like a just be better forehead, just balance better forehead, just have them be balanced. I do think hero augments, some people have said before that hero augments are like unbalanceable. I don't think that's the case at all. I think there are certainly times when hero augments are at like a really good balanced state, and they feel good. So yeah, I think keep doing what you're doing on hero augments. I like hero augments. I like, playing my Story Champion and my Yorick augment when they're really balanced and having this insane fantasy of like one of these carries popping off. But I do think you have to be a little bit careful because if they are unbalanced, they feel really, 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 really bad. So something to keep in mind. I think they're right on the nose with that. They did also give a little bit of a hint. They said here, look forward to more hero augments in our next set. So they're saying guaranteed that they're going to be in the next set. They're pretty similar to Inkborn Fables. Low-cost tanks become carries, but the team cooked up some fun ones. There are ones that feel pretty unique, and at least one that will give you a sense of deja vu. So, interesting. Maybe a hero augment that is a blast from, like, the past, like set 8. Hero augment, like, coming back. We'll see. But, you know, once again, speculate in the comments what you guys think that hero augment will be. That's maybe a unit in set 8 coming back, especially in this, like, magical themed set. I'm not sure. Like, I thought maybe, like, Gangplank coming back with his ones that, like, farm gold or something. But, like, I don't think Gangplank really fits in, like, a magical themed set. But I'm not sure. I guess we'll see as time goes on. But certainly fun, certainly very, very hype. Also, so Bio barely lose to replay here. I'm going to jump into another random VOD because I have a few things left to say, and I'll crank it up to 2x speed so you guys get your TikTok brains. Because we only got one more section left, though this last section is a doozy when a lot of people are talking about artifacts. Essentially, they said artifacts succeeded. There's a lot of cool stuff with artifacts. It's going to be cool seeing next set. You know, what people do with artifacts based on whatever the new champions are. They want to make sure people don't see them too frequently or too infrequently, which, you know, is reasonable. They also said they might rotate out some artifacts that aren't working, which I think is, you know, completely reasonable. But yeah, they say this is a pretty big win for TFT. I made the mistake of, you know, doing something that is always a mistake, which is going to the competitive TFT subreddit. And so many people there were flaming new artifacts and saying that they're an absolute failure. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that. Are artifacts a success or a failure? I think they're a pretty big success, actually, in my opinion. I think they're really, really unique, and I think the uniqueness is stuff that I love in TFT. The clip of Soju playing the tech where you put Unstable Trenchcoat and Diamond Hands on a Lysandra, and then you revive her with the Kale, the 7-Story Weaver Kale, and then just get a million Lysandras. That stuff is so cool to me. I love that kind of stuff in TFT. Just those really, really unique, really, really cool interactions. I think those are great, and I'm happy that artifacts are that in TFT. Or stuff like I got to play a game with the Vampiric Scepter Gnar tech, where you go Vampiric Scepter QSS Gwinsu onto Gnar, and he just becomes an absolute monster. That was so fun. I played Silvermere Dawn Riven. That is so fun. So, you know, like the last game we even saw, where we saw the Thomas Kench with Innervating Locket was really, really cool, and, you know, like Bard with stuff like Wit's End. I don't know. I really like what they've done with artifacts this set, but it sounds like people on Reddit really don't like it. People on Reddit, I don't really respect their opinions, so I'm not going to take that as gospel. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think about artifacts. Were artifacts a success? Were they a failure of this system? You know, I'm curious because, you know, there's certainly some that don't really hit. Obviously, like the new Curse Blade averages like a 5 or something, so you're almost never taking that. And they'll get to spots where some of them are balanced, and they are only good on like very niche units. You know, stuff like Blighting Jewel is only good on Teemo. Stuff like the Special Cutlass is like only good on stuff like Kayn. So maybe people see that as being an issue where stuff is only good on certain units. But, you know, I don't know. I think they're fine personally, but who's to say? All right, that's the whole article. I kept the video under 30 minutes, which I think is pretty good. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know, once again, what you guys think on all this stuff. This is one of those videos where the comment section just blows up because I know people love to yap about everything. And so, yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.